What does it take to succeed at Hoshin Kanri? That's a question that a lot of you ask us here at i-nexus, and it's a question that the people at BTP know the answer to. I'm James Milsom, the head of marketing here at i-nexus Strategy Software, and today I'm joined by Frederick Fjellstedt from BTP, Business Through People, as we take you through what those keys to success are with Hoshin Kanri. Frederick, lovely to have you.
Yeah, thank you, James. Thank you for inviting me to this. I'm very excited to share some thoughts and hopefully inspiration on that question that I know, like you said, many ask themselves. So what does it take to become successful?
It's been something that we've heard a lot of for the last 4 or 5 years actually, and I think that reading your book, which obviously is the basis for a lot of today's session, the answers are clear, but I think that it's been so rare that the likes of yourself have been able to get this opportunity to get in front of people like our audience. So before we get on with today's agenda, could you just give everyone a quick overview about yourself, the book, and BTP?
Yeah, I would love to do that. So my name is Fredrik. I'm currently living in Sweden, just a few hours outside Stockholm. My background and kind of where I learned many of the things I know about today on Hoshin Kanri comes from when I worked at Toyota Material Handling, and I was there for roughly 10 years when Toyota made a lean transformation, might say, from a Swedish truck manufacturer called BT into a Toyota company using Toyota production system and everything that comes around that. So I was part of that journey, and I can tell you it was a interesting journey, a lot of learnings, and I felt that after 10 years I wanted to take that knowledge and experience and go out and work as a consultant. So for the last 9 years, I've been working as a leadership consultant, and for the last 4 years, I have been working with the business through people, and we are a company that always focusing the people side of lean or transformation in general. And briefly, we work with three main areas. We work with operational leadership, with what is called training within industry, TWI. We work with building capabilities for continuous improvement, utilizing Toyota Kata, and we work with the strategic capabilities for leaders, which then would be the Hoshin Kanri. And part of or a couple of years ago, I was invited to be part of a research team and the book you mentioned, James, here in Sweden. So I came into the second phase of that project. So the first phase of the project were research where they kind of investigated to see could Hoshin Kanri be used as building strategic capabilities for small and medium enterprises. And there was some good outcome from that. And those outcome became a research paper, and I came into the program or to the project. And from there, we wrote the book together. So how can we spread the knowledge from the research project? And that's also where I came in with more practical experience and learning from how to use Hoshin Kanri. So we did the book, we did a Hoshin Kanri accelerator, we did a university course. So we did many things to spread the knowledge. So that was a good journey as well.
And of course, you are here today to spread that knowledge even further. So
I hope so.
thank you for introducing yourself, Frederick. So
yeah.
When we look at the question of what does it take to succeed at Hoshin Kanri, we came up with 5 sections I think that are necessary to take us through to get to that answer, Frederick. And what I would love to be able to do today is to share those questions with you and get your thoughts and your answers around them. And we're going to look at things like Why should you use Hoshin to set up your strategy? Why are organizations struggling when it comes to balancing firefighting and strategy? That's something that I know for sure that our audience are going to be nodding their heads at as they listen to this. What are the ingredients to be successful? What are the practical steps that you can take right now? And then how is it that you can keep momentum as you move forward?
Yeah.
So let's get started. So first up, Frederick, why should you use Hoshin Kanri to set your strategy?
Yeah, I think like this quote says here that I mean, how can we see the bigger picture? How can we gather kind of the energy to and the forces in the organization to accomplish not only the day-to-day task and what we need to do on the daily basis, but how can we break status quo? How can we take step changes to become even more competitive and think more long term? I mean, there could be many ways to explain that, but I like to talk from what I call the 4 C's. So I see that when we work with Hoshin Kanri, there are things we want to strive towards in the way we use it, but there is also kind of the outcome of that Hoshin process or Hoshin Kanri process. So the first C would be the clarity. So one struggle we often face is when we work with strategy is kind of how do we get everyone to see the same picture? How do we get the people closest to the operation to feel and see the same things as the top management do when they set the strategy? So building that clarity, sometimes it's kind of referred to as the line of sight in the organization. So when I stand in my position, do I have that line of sight towards kind of the thinking and what top management had in mind? So building that clarity is important when working with Hoshin Kanri, but it's also an outcome when we do that in a good way. And the clarity is not only the line of sight, let's say from level to level, it's also the clarity within the team. I mean, I meet so many management teams where when you start to scratch kind of on the surface to see, do you really have the same understanding on the challenges or the way you describe things? I mean, quite often already there could be many different ways to view it. And if we don't have the clarity in the team, of course, that will not be helpful when we try to communicate that into the organization. So clarity is is kind of level to level, but also in the team on each level. So the clarity part is so important when we work with Hoshin Kanri. And the second C would be the courage. And courage is both to have the courage to challenge status quo, courage to say, let's stretch ourselves. Let's try to aim even higher instead of staying in the comfortable zone or comfort zone, right? So I often talk to leaders when we talk about setting targets that many times what we see is that if you believe you can reach 10, you set the target on 9, because then I'm quite sure I will reach the target. But what we want to have is the courage to say, if I believe already now I can reach 10, I should set the target on 11. I need to find a way to do even more, right? Because the target I already see is within grasp. So how can we have the courage to kind of push ourselves? But that also takes courage to trust your people. Because if we want to push ourselves, we also need to understand no one really has the answers exactly how to reach that. So we need to have the courage to trust the people for them to figure out what do we need to do to contribute to that. And that, of course, links to the clarity. If they don't have the clarity, it will be more difficult for them to see their contribution, right? And the third C would be commitment. So in this process, how can we have people really committed and feeling ownership of the strategic challenges? So it doesn't just become a thing for the top management. It's something that is important for every leader in the organization. I quite often open with a slide when I do training and so on, where I say it took the management team 30 days to develop the strategy, and it took the organization 30 seconds to misunderstand it. And when I present this to an audience, people quite often kind of laugh about it because they recognize it, and they kind of feel that, yeah, that's very similar to how it is in my organization, or this is something I have seen very much in the past, right? So how do we create that commitment? So when we develop the strategy, how do we do that already in the development and deployment of strategy in a way so people feel committed? And that's where we talk about things like catchball process, iterating ideas and targets and problems to solve, etc. So in that iteration, we will start to build commitment. And the outcome of doing Hoshin Kanri is to have that consensus. People, leaders saying, this is what we are agreeing on, this is best for the company, this is the prioritization we do, etc. So we have that consensus. So when we go from planning to execution, it's a solid ground to stand on. Because that's also quite common that we do the plan and we think we agree, but then we move into execution and all of a sudden we start to kind of see that it's a bit wobbling. People might not be fully on board, or there would be different opinions coming up later in the process. So how do we build that consensus where we are all committed to say, these are the things we need to do? So the 4 C's, I think, is for me the main reason for working with Hoshin Kanri. You will create clarity, you will strive for courage, you will get the commitment, and you will have the consensus. And I believe if you have the 4 C's in place, you have a much more solid base and leadership capabilities to actually meet the strategic challenges, which is at the end of the day the things we need to overcome to stay competitive.